to get the glory for my life because he has delivered me from so much. And it's time to walk in that freedom. God, I encountered God at a very young age. Now you can encounter God and still live in sin. Okay? You can definitely encounter God and still choose to live in sin. Because the thing about sin is, and the thing about the enemy is, he's very crafty and he finds a new way to implement himself into your life. And so, right? During COVID, I'm not trying to flex, but about a lot of the things that other people went through in COVID. And as I look back, that was in my disobedience. Down, right? The Bible tells us to write it down and make it plain. I've written so many things down and they're plain as day. But it has to go from the pages and out to the people. And this is why we're here. It has to go from the pages into the people. My cat just, anyways, distraction. But you gonna pick that back up, Jarvis? You gonna pick that back up? Okay. So you're choking because you ate too fast, and then you dropped one of your little pebbles on the floor. Are you gonna pick it back up? Are you gonna eat it back up? Okay. So that's neither here or there. But so many ideas in here, and it has to come off the pages, and it's crazy because. It's not crazy. It's confirmation because the retreat, Women on Purpose, I'll put some information down for that. Women on Purpose, the retreat that I go to annually. This year we're talking about the guest speaker that we had this year. She spoke about wanting to be a clinical psychologist, wanted to be a doctor in psychology, and God had other plans for her. And it's crazy because this year I was planning on going to go get my PhD in psychology. And application after application, I went into the wrong portal 2 times because the school that I want to go to is changed their portal for registration. And I literally I had about 3 different applications open up, same application, same thing. But then later on found out that I was on the wrong applications. So I had to make a new application. And it's just usually it's boom, boom. Like the first time I signed up and went to my master's, it was boom, boom, boom. That's how I know it was ordained by God. It was boom, 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 boom. Okay? And not all delay means God, or not all opposition means God does not want you to accomplish this thing or go after it. But one of the things in Revelation I had, and I spoke to my clinical director about this where I work, is that I really want my PhD because little Amanda, she wants doctor in her name. I want to be the first Dr. Mercier in my family. It's neither here or there, okay? But at the same time, when I think of someone who has their doctorate, I wouldn't say I really think about me right now because I do not want to get to where God is taking me and lack the freedom that's going to be needed in Him to do His work there. And so that means as we process through all of the things that I do want to share with you all, And at some point in my life, yes, go and get my PhD. I'm walking this thing out with you guys. I'm walking it out with you guys, because the biggest thing in what I told her basically was, back to what I was saying, is that I don't want to get to the destination and realize that I was ill prepared. And I really believe 2026 and this year that is to come. Today is December 25th. Baby Jesus. Okay. But it's like next year, this year was about being on fire for God and walking in what He has called me to. And it wasn't really doing the actual work, but really doing the work in here. So many stories for this year. I will share all of those things. But next year, it's okay, I need to pin that. And for me to pin it, I have to say something that's going to remind me. Esther becoming a bride. I think seeing this and remembering this part is going to remind me that I need to make another video. Esther and becoming a bride. Nevertheless, I don't want to get to where God is taking me, and I am not prepared, because I did not appropriately allow Him to, in my waiting season, to purify me and sanctify me, to prepare my mind, my spirit, my body, my soul, everything within me, to get to where He's taking me, so that I can be fruitful, to multiply there. I don't want to multiply bad fruit. Point blank, period. That's it. That's not what I'm in the business of Christ for. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds business of Christ. Man, at this point, yeah. About my king, like about my Father's business. You know what I'm saying? And so that's really it, And so I decided not to go and sign up for my program, for the program I wanted to go to. That was 10 days ago, because the application was due on the 15th. Today's the 25th. But nevertheless, it needs to go from the pages and out. And my goal next year is to be in the spaces with the great minds that I seek to learn from, to read more. I have so many books in boxes that I have yet to read, and I have those books because the intention is to read them, right? Like behind me right now, I'm gonna share what's behind me right now. Love Factually, Dangerous Personalities, Moral Issues and Christian Responses, Young and Young. I don't really know which class I took that I got this from. I don't even know if it's from a class specifically, but I do know it's no strange thing that I have this here. And as you guys get, to know me more, I definitely have to finish that book. I have to start and finish that book, because there's so many, I have a lot of knowledge, but being a knowledge buff, I need more. Forget what I'm going to be learning in those classrooms. I need to open every box. And like I said, I'm going to show you guys what my house really looks like right now. I'm going to open every box and figure out what books I have in there. And that's my goal next year. My goal is to really be around the spaces where the people that, have already accomplished the things that I would like to accomplish. The spaces where, not where they have to be really up there, but they're I heard somewhere we're trying to go from, 80 followers to the person, and comparing ourselves to the person who's at 300K. But you're not studying the person who's at 8,000, the person who's at 1,000. You're not studying what the person who's at 4,000 is doing. You just want to go straight to 300K. And that's where I'm at. I'm at the point where I want to study and watch and be in the rooms with the people. They don't necessarily have to be all the way up there successful, but they are and have decided to take on the journey and embark on the journey to the promises. And they're being obedient in what God has called them to do. That's the rooms I want to be in. So I can learn and become like a sponge that can intake the information that I'm learning, so that when God gives me and puts me in the rooms to share what I have, I learned from good spaces, from good fruits. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. I don't really know exactly where to begin. I don't really know how exactly this is supposed to go, but this is the introduction. Hi, my name is Amanda Mercier. Okay, and my pastor started calling me Mercier more. I don't know why, but he started calling me Mercier more. And it's crazy because I remember after I left basic training, my goal was to get people to call me Mercier. But then they would learn my name is Amanda and they never call me Mercier. They would not even try to call me Mercier. But I really think that maybe I'm walking into my Mercier season. Like, I don't know. Call me Mercier, okay? Don't just call me Amanda, call me Mercier. But he's calling me Mercier and I'm like, you have no idea what this means. Like, I don't know my bloodline, where my people come from. I don't know the history of my family. I come from a family that don't really talk about the past, that don't really talk about the journey. Growing up, I heard, my grandfather was this, and, my grandmother was like this, and, these different things. Like, you hear little things here and there, but no one ever really knows exactly you know what I'm saying? And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking like of the story of.
Okay, so I spent the next 5 minutes trying to figure out this story, y'all. Okay, and I went back and did some research. I'm still talking about Abraham, so this makes this even crazier. Because how you did it in Genesis 12 and then go to Genesis 20 and do it again. So in Genesis 12, he lied to the king of Egypt, and then in Genesis 20, he lied to Abimelech. Let me try to say this name right, baby. Let me try to say Abimelech. Back on Simblendil, but on continue. Parce que, look, I'm looking for it and trying to find this story, and the whole time it's the same man, okay, repeating the same patterns as we do, okay. But yeah, all right, let's go back to the video.
It's supposed to be right here. Look at this painting. It's so beautiful, isn't it? It's not me, but yeah. Okay, let's go back. So I know it's in Genesis. Okay, that I know. I just finished the whole book of Genesis. I figure out, like, biblically, I really want to know: is this like the second king by then, or is it that same king that went through the same thing with the same bloodline family? Because what? It happened to you years ago with this man's father.
I want you all to have the experience of me processing in real time with me, because as I look back at this and I'm doing this editing, like, this literally points to fear and faith. Like the fear of man and how faithful God truly is, because Abraham did this already. This man did this already, and he is so faithful that he had divine protection over this man's wife, because anything could happen to Sarah. Anything. Like, the kings could have said, no. Okay? Back. No backsies. No way. But, all right, back to the video, y'all.
From the core of where it's coming from, and the enemy gets to sit there and infiltrate himself in families because we're not talking, because we're not just not talking as a community, because what happens at home stays at home. Man, listen, we'll get to that, but we're not just talking as a community. We're not talking as family, as people, as not just community in a broad range, but community in terms of church members, teachers, parents, and then you go even further, right? So in psychology, we have the macro system, mesosystem, and the exosystem. I'm not even talking about the exosystem. The exosystem is more of the external things, churches, and all of these, just different other schools that are outside of the microsystem, and the microsystem being the family, the really in there, cousins, that's a little bit meso, but the cousins you see a lot, they'll be more in the macro because you see them a lot, you know what I'm saying? But how many things go unplucked, not removed, because as aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, grandfathers, grandmothers, people who are in the home, we're not talking to each other, and we're not letting the generation before us, the generation before us, as the generation before, we're not letting the young ones coming in know the things that they need to know. Okay? And this reminds me of a moment when I was in therapy with a client, and she got into a little bit of trouble. I work in a facility, and she was talking about how the water turned out, some water issues, and I already had shampoo in my hair, and I went to a staff and I told her that I needed to shower, and she said to me, "You can't shower right now." And of course, I told the young lady, I was like, "Okay, what did you decide to do then?" "Well, I got into an argument and I cussed and all that stuff." "What could you have chosen to do?" That's neither here or there. But as I'm hearing this child and I hear what she was told, because she was like, "I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know why I couldn't shower. I wanted to know why I couldn't finish washing my hair." And this reminds me, as people, we crave knowledge, we crave understanding, but the issue is, just like the Bible says, "My people will perish due to lack of knowledge." I read this in I just finished Hosea, and it was in there. I don't know where else in the Bible it is. I haven't read the whole Bible, but I know in Hosea it says perishing because of lack of knowledge, and so it's like the staff could have said something like, "Hey, you can't shower right now because the water is out. Once I have more information about that, I'll let you know if you're gonna shower tonight, or maybe you might have to do it in the morning when the shower opens back up." But even in that little interaction, as I'm thinking about it, we don't give enough information, because it looks like, I don't have to explain myself to a child, or I don't have to explain myself to anybody. And the idea is, it's not always looking at it like you have to explain yourself to somebody. It's giving them more information, because as human beings, we crave information. And if you don't give people the right information, they're going to get the wrong information. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you don't give your children the right knowledge, they're going to get the wrong knowledge. And sometimes the wrong knowledge is coming from us. It's coming from you. I don't have children. I have my son Jarvis here. But it's coming from the home. The wrong information is coming from home. So if we know that as people, we crave knowledge, we crave information, which is why the media's got us going to and fro. We're going to and fro. We just being tossed over here, tossed over there. Why? Because we need information. We crave knowledge. They're willing to just feed us a bunch of horse stuff. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us are taking it in. And it's shaking us up. Like, it's moving us, shaking us, and all of that stuff. Like, a perfect example that I like to use is COVID. Right? During COVID, I'm not trying to flex, but I don't about a lot of the things that other people went through in COVID. And as I look back, that was in my disobedience. Because COVID had people inside of the house. COVID had me outside. I was outside. I was clubbing. I was partying. I was drinking. I was doing all types of things. It did not keep me inside. And then God still sustained me during that time. He still sustained me. I had a roof over my head. I had a car. And during that time, honestly, I went through about like maybe 2-3 cars. Another story. But it's like a lot of the information that you are getting is not directly really impacting you in a micro level. Because as Christians, whether you are walking in your purpose or not, but you know God and you have met God and He's been with you, Jehovah Shammah, like you can, if you really choose to, you can look back at other moments of chaos in the world that could have and should have impacted you and did not. It went right over your head. And as I look back at those years, that's the years that caused me years later to have terrible credit. When God was ready to sit me down, I could not get a car. I would have the money, wouldn't be able to get the car. Would find the car, didn't have the money from Uber, Lyft, and all of these different things that I had to do. Because He was like, you sitting down. Like, you had cars. You didn't take care of them. You wanted to be everywhere else. You wanted to be out there in the world. So you sitting down. He doesn't play. When He wants you to sit down, He's going to make sure you sit down. Okay? He's going to make sure you sit down. And the thing is, as we speak right now, He still hasn't told me to get up. I've tried to get up. Another story. See, I got to remember. I'm going to look back at this video. He didn't tell me to get up. Many stories. I tried. And He's like, sit down. Sit down. And every time we step out of these places and these spaces of where God is having us in the wilderness so that He can purify us, sanctify us, and take us to the promised land, and we keep trying to get out, the reason why your mind is not still and you're not able to be still is because you're trying to come out of the will of God when He's just saying, be still and know that I am God. That was a word for me. He's saying, be still and know that I am God. But you're trying to get to the promised land without all that He needs to put in you to get there. What's the point? And and it's crazy because I've said this to my sister. What's the point of all of that work to get you to the rooms and to get you to the places that has been promised to you if you're not going to be in your right mind when you get there? And when I say in your right mind, I'm not just talking about not crazy and this and that and the other, like, you know, and we need to let go of this word crazy. Crazy is it. I had the meeting. I had to give the meeting to one of my clients, you know, and I'm like, no, we need to get out of these words like, oh, crazy and all that stuff. A lot of times it's insanity. You're repeating the same things over and over again and expecting different results, and you still expect Him to take you to the promised land. You're doing the same thing. How is He going to take you to the promised land when you're doing the same thing? That's not going to sustain you there. And you can force yourself to that door. That's what I meant when I said I can go get the PhD. I can go do the finances and this and that and the other to pay for school and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think He would actually fight me in trying to do it. Maybe. Like, there comes a time where God's like, I will leave you to your sin. And in Hosea, you hear that He says many times that He will take His face away from the people. He will remove Himself from the people because they were so focused on living in their sin. So a lot of times He'll take Himself away and be like, okay, go ahead. Lean onto your understanding. Because I said lean not onto your own understanding, but you want to lean on it, so go ahead. And He'll remove Himself. So what's the point of me getting there, getting the PhD, and forcing my way into those rooms just to realize that it's not because I could not have been qualified, and it's not because he did not want me to be in those rooms, but I'm going through a lot of spiritual warfare while being in those rooms because I got there with a lack of knowledge. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. I don't want it. If I'm going to be there, who was it? Moses. He said, God, if you're not going with me, if you're not going with us, I don't want it. By this way, if you're not going with me to the promised land, and I'm over there, I'm over here trying to force myself through those doors. I'm over here trying to force myself to get there, and I'm not ready. I'm battling every day, warfare, mental. My heart is still being purified to be more like Christ. And I get there, and I didn't allow all of that to happen. Eaten alive. Fini. Tout fini. Like, that's it. That's it. Done. Crazy. So, a client was like, words like crazy or stupid. It started with stupid, and then it went to crazy. So I have crazy up right now, and then I have stupid. Let me put stupid up. Stupid. Okay, so stupid it started with stupid. So having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Okay? And in the example it says, that is such a stupid question. Okay? And the similar synonyms that I see down here is dense, brainless, and my favorite one is ignorant. Okay? The reason why I like ignorant is because ignorance doesn't mean that you are, like this word say right here, stupid. It's a lack of intelligence, lack of knowledge. What is the difference? There's so many different types of intelligence out here. There's emotional intelligence. There's book smarts, right? Oh my gosh, like there's so, like intelligence, you know how that like autism is a spectrum? Intelligence is literally a spectrum. And common sense ain't common if we ain't been in the same spaces. You know what I'm saying? You could be from one part of the world in another part of the world. It's like, oh, it's common sense to say good morning. But in other parts of the world, they don't really say that. They don't really say, hey, good morning. You know what I'm saying? Or hey, how you doing today? You know, greeting each other and this and that and the other. Common sense is per your experience. You can even see with children, they are raised in the same household and have different personalities, different beliefs, different ideas. Because what we're calling common sense is just our inability to provide information and to tell each other what we need from each other, and then expecting each other to know what the other person needs. I'm gonna just leave that there, okay? So then the client was like, I'm just stupid for doing it like that and this and that and the other. Back to the other story that I was saying, you know, with the popping off on the staff rather than just walking away. Yes, you didn't get a lot of information that you wanted to know, like why can't I do this, why, and this and that and the other. We ask too much why. Sometimes God just calls us to be obedient. Okay? Just do it. And so I said, I need you to stop. I need you to stop telling yourself you're stupid. Stop saying you're stupid. Because I searched the word up and it says it's showing great lack of intelligence and common sense. You don't like, I work with a population that when you speak, when you see the behaviors, you will say this person lacks intelligence and they lack common sense. But this is when you are just looking at them in the surface level. But when you listen to them and you talk to them, you have conversations with them, you just see that they are just a product of the environment that they were raised in, also lacking common sense, lacking in intelligence and information to basically become people in society with knowledge that majority of us don't have. Like, there's a lot of things that you might know or I might know that you think, oh, this is common sense, everybody should know this. And it really isn't. It really isn't. It really is not. And so I'm like, you saying that is taking you away from accountability. Us calling ourselves stupid, and this is not to shy away from mental health, right? I am not licensed, which is one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually sit before you guys and start these conversations. Like, I'm not licensed. I did pass the state exam October 4th. I just need to send my paperwork in, take my last exam, jurisprudence is called, and send my paperwork in so I can receive my license. But nevertheless, the biggest fight was the exam, and God, glory be to God. Listen, y'all, that exam I studied for 3 years on and off. Okay, that's for another time. So I'm like, it's just choosing not to take accountability for the fact that you knew better. You didn't lack intelligence in that moment. You knew that you shouldn't be going back and forth with a staff, but emotionally you decided to go with your emotional brain rather than your executive brain, which is the more logical one. Like, I probably shouldn't be going back and forth with this staff. You know what I'm saying? No, you decided to go with your executive brain. You wanted to, your emotional brain. And then there's repercussions for that. Because what happens is, as people, when we choose to do the emotional thing, whether it's, for me right now, the battle for me right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and share it, is not drinking. Okay? And it's crazy because as I'm driving one day, a while back, when I first stopped drinking, when I first stopped drinking, but when, I really, was carrying it out for like 6 months or so, I drove by and there were new liquor stores being made, like built, and it's a small town. It's a small town, and you got liquor stores left and right, and it's a big one, and I'm like, God, I'm not gonna name the city, but we need you. Like, mind you, I've been living in the city for like 2, going on maybe 3 years now. Like, we need you, because if this stuff is in every corner like this, and we have a people that is suffering from addiction, suffering from drug abuse, suffering from alcohol abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, all types of abuse, this is the spot. That's where they're going to go to find their fix, if they're not looking for other fixes. So I literally, as I'm driving, I have to do a quick prayer like, God, oh yeah, we need you. And so the reason why I brought that up is just because you're not stupid. I know I'm not stupid. But we make decisions that is lacking in intelligence, in common sense. Common sense is based on experience. The last time I picked up a bottle, I did something stupid. So you would think common sense per this experience would make me wiser. And I'd be like, you know what? Nah, I'm going to just go ahead and leave that. No. But one of the things I've realized is you can have the urge. It can be a thought. Remember, not every thought is your thought. But you can choose to decide whether or not you're going to do the thing that's lacking in common sense, that's lacking in intelligence. You see what I'm saying? And you may fall short. That's okay. Every day these mercies are renewed. You get grace and mercy every day. And so that's the cross that I'm walking right now. Just wanted to share that a little bit. But the other word was crazy. The crazy this, crazy that, very foolish, senseless, strange. Recently, the woman who raised me called me crazy. And I've had people call me crazy before. Amanda's crazy, that and this and that and the other. I've had people call me crazy before. But in that moment, the spirit of offense showed up. And I had to really think about why it showed up. And that's where I'm at now. Like, I'm in the space where I need to really think about, why is this spirit of offense showing up? What do I need to really pay attention to? And, it was a simple conversation. Nothing very foolish or senseless or strange in the conversation. She just kept on saying, you know, your parents gave birth to a crazy person. Oh, only these two people could make this crazy person. This, and that, and the other. It almost felt like she was speaking a curse over me. I was like, is this a curse? Hold on, I don't know. Because I'm not foolish. I'm not senseless. And I'm certainly not strange. So, with that being said, I'm like, oh, why is she saying that? Like, why is that the word she's choosing? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know why. Even just talking about it right now, like, people don't realize, and we don't realize in communicating with each other, the meaning of words and what they mean. And I told this child, I was like, you're not crazy. You're not foolish. You're not senseless. You sitting in front of me expressing your feelings, expressing what you're thinking, how you experienced it emotionally, mentally, and the mental process behind it. That don't sound too foolish and senseless to me. So let's get out of that word. Let's just take accountability for knowing the fact that, yes, Miss Amanda, I could have done something differently. And that's okay. You didn't do it. What are you going to do next time? And I gave her a new word. And she already knew that word. And I told her, I need you to use that word more. What's the new word I gave her? I was like, insane. We're insane. Most people, the problem is you're not stupid. You're not crazy. You're not foolish, senseless, or whatever. You're insane. Insane. Repeating the same patterns, the same things, and then you're expecting different results. Hands up. Both hands up. Where's my toes? Something. I don't know. Put my shit up. My shoes up. I'm gonna have to block that out. I didn't say that. Yeah. But anyways, put my shoes up. You know what I'm saying? Like toes and everything. All of it up. Like, you're none of those things. All of these words that the enemy's trying to use, that's not, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are a child of God, trying to use these words to make you seem like you don't know what you're doing, you are lacking in knowledge. You may not be Einstein, but you got knowledge. And I know you got common sense because you have experiences. Now, we could talk about a young child because, you know, you have to teach a child and guide them in the way that they should go. But if we lacking in common sense in a recognition that, hey, I know better, I am not foolish, so therefore I should do better, then you're just going to pass it on down to your kids. So I never understood why I keep saying it still hasn't hit me. It still hasn't hit me that I work with the population that I work with. Because when they do certain things and it's just like, you know what I mean? Or they act a certain way and it just kind of shakes me up, you know, definitely learning to not be moved by the world, right? Because I put my heart in the things that I do. You know, I give my heart to the things that I do. I'm very passionate as a person. And so it's like, now as I'm speaking out right now, I'm realizing the reason why it never clicks to me that I work with an abnormal portion of the population, that I work with a different part of the population, because I don't look at them like that. I genuinely do not look at them like that. This is somebody's daughter, somebody's child in front of me, going through the same things that when I was not in my right mind as a child, or even now as an adult, as I battle spiritual warfare, carnal things that I cannot see, they're going through the same thing. Why are you... My cat is... Let me know. This is just another human being going through carnal warfare right before my eyes. And it's not just, you know, about the chemical reactions. God is so crafty when he made us that whether it is the brain chemistry that is shifting and changing, or our body and our physical makeup that changes when we experience trauma or experience things that is not according to the will of God, and it shows in our presentation, in our behaviors. Like, he's so crafty that nothing can be done apart from him. As a therapist, I love introducing my young clients to God. I love to talk about God. You know what I'm saying? And I love that I work in a space where that's okay. And by the grace of God, when I have my own private practice, or I have whatever this promise that God has for me, and I know it's going to involve children, and it's going to involve, helping families specifically. Like, I know that he is going to use my ability to not see them like other people see them to really impact their lives. Because I see me. And sometimes it's so crazy, like, I just want to be like, I hear you, I see you, I understand, but you have to choose. You have to choose this day whom you will serve. That's it. That's it. It's a choice. You have to choose to walk out your salvation. You have to choose to go before the cross and lay it down at the cross. And then also decide after to lay it down to not go back and pick it back up. Not going back to the vomit. And it's not a choice. That's just easy peasy lemon squeezy. It is a daily sacrifice. I recently sent a message to my pastor's wife. And let me see what I said here. I'm going to go ahead and share it with you guys. Because I had this revelation as I was reading Hosea. And it says, obedience is better than any sacrifice. I'm reading Hosea, and it says here, he will come to us like the rain, like the latter and former rain of the earth. And then going down further, another line. For your faithfulness is like a morning cloud, and like morning dew, it goes away. Your faithfulness is like a morning cloud, like morning dew, it goes away. You ever try to start a new habit? You know you're not faithful in the new habit because by the next day, you are like, you plan out all your clothes, you're going to go to the gym, been there, done that. You're going to go to the gym, you're going to go do this, you're going to do that, or you're going to start doing this, or you're going to stop doing that. And then like morning cloud, and like morning dew, it just goes away. It just goes away, right? And then I went on and I said, whenever I go back and I pick up guilt and I pick up shame, that's choosing that the latter, meaning Christ's sacrifice, does not matter. That's choosing to say that my freedom, my deliverance, living in the exceedingly and abundantly does not matter. And then it goes on to say, therefore, if I walk in forgiveness, I have to believe. And this is why I'm making this video right now, right? Like, if I'm to walk in forgiveness, I have to believe and not allow my faith to be like morning cloud, like dew, constantly going away because of how my thoughts, my feelings negatively impact the stance that I have on my firm foundation, which is Jesus Christ. And so I ended it with obedience is following the cross, right? The obedience is choosing to follow the cross. The obedience is choosing to follow the cross. in obedience, in the obedience to choose to do something doesn't mean you're gonna see the fruit of that. Like the obedience, for example, we chose to go to school, right? We chose to go get a higher education. I chose to go to get a higher education. Choosing to get a higher education didn't automatically mean I was gonna have a job when I got out of school. Experience that at some point. Choosing to start the cake business, to start the podcast, to start the whatever it is, choosing to start doesn't automatically mean you're going to see the fruits of it. In one of my notebooks, I was reading about the apple tree taking 8 to 10 years. The apple tree takes 8 to 10 years to actually sprout and to actually produce fruit. So that means 8 to 10 years ago, the tree is made, it's planted, and you don't actually even get to see the apples until 8 to 10 years. So the obedience is just choosing to start following. Just you gonna mess up, you gonna fall, you might break, split your ankle, break a leg or something. I don't know. Listen, sometimes that's how it really feels. Okay, following the cross, right? And my cat has this thing where he likes to scratch on the back door because he want to go outside. You're not an outside cat. Foot. Obedience is just choosing to follow. You could choose to follow whatever you choose to follow, right? You could choose to start. You could choose to do whatever you want to do. The obedience is just choosing to follow. And I wrote it here. It says, obedience is the following of the cross. And the sacrifice is accepting the cross. The reason why I said it like that is I have to sacrifice my unbelief. I have to sacrifice all of the negative messages that I have received about myself that says that I am not qualified to sit here before you guys and start these conversations. I have to sacrifice and put to death my flesh every time I drive past the liquor store and choose not to go inside. Because I now have an intelligence, I now have a knowledge of what is taking place in the carnal space. So again, we're perishing because of lack of information. We're perishing because of lack of knowledge. And so that's my goal. As I end this, it just reminded me that my apostle said we have to write something about what our goal is for the ministry for the next year. And I got really saddened because I felt like, and I don't know, I think I'm gonna say I felt like I am not qualified to lead the little people. But it's crazy because God's always taking me to the little people. They gravitate towards me. I don't even have to go find the little people. The little people find me. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's I'm at the pool at a friend's house, and a public pool, at a friend's house, kids are gravitating towards me. They want to play. They want to know who I am. And I remember the most recent time something like that happened to me. There was this little girl. We were in the pool playing. She was showing me how to swim because, baby, listen. Okay. And before I left, she wanted me to stay. But before I left, she said, may God bless you. This child is 7-8 years old. And before I left, she said, may God bless you. Bye. Have a good. Bye. Bye, Amanda. I hope that God blesses you, or like, something along those lines. Just she referenced God going with me. So, and I just met this child for like less than 2 hours. As I'm looking back, that's crazy. And so she says to write something about what my goal is for the ministry. Honestly, knowledge. My goal is to give knowledge, to receive knowledge, to provide resources, to provide our youth with the ability to understand that the gap between where they are in the promises is just the obedience to choose to follow. And in doing that, using the knowledge that they receive from their parents, the knowledge that they receive from their community, the knowledge that they receive from the Word of God, to put it in application, the knowledge that they receive from therapy, to apply it. And I realize with counseling and psychology, I'm looking at, that's not the book over there, that's the sports psychology book. I'm going to give that to one of my young ladies because she said she wanted to. I think she would love that book. But listen, it's this book that was the history of psychology. And in that class I had so many comments, so many just whoa, like this is crazy. With the worldly black and white issues, slavery, this and that and the other, just the things that really, the enemy really just wants us to go ahead and focus on, and forgetting that the fight is not things that we can see. We do not fight against flesh and blood. You see what I'm saying? But it's like understanding that lacking in knowledge just means that there's something that you do not have informationally. And if you are willing to be obedient to seek that out, right? The Bible says, seek and you will find, knock and it shall be open. And that's my goal, to seek with them, to knock with them, to ask. When I don't know, I can ask my elders and they can guide me to the path that, and I want, and I've always said, God, I want to serve well. So I want to show them what serving well looks like. Not perfect. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like I've had this idea that it has to look perfect, but just showing them what serving looks like, what sacrifice looks like, because you have to let go of something to be obedient. Obedience doesn't just come easily. There is a sacrifice that has to be made in accepting the cross to obedience and following. It's just it. That's just it. You can't have one without the other. And my pastor loves the verse. I believe is it in James? Oh Lord Jesus, Peter. Glory. Listen, I'm still learning. But it's obedience is greater than any sacrifice. Got it. I got an internet right in front of me. Got it. Come on. Knowledge. Got it. It's here. Hang on. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Here it is. 1 Samuel 15:25. Okay. Am I doing it? Am I saying it right? 1 Samuel. And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to here, baka lisa, actually, bum find a New King James version. I'm not even gonna try to do that. Listen, being bilingual and all of that other stuff is just not it, y'all. But okay, many. So Samuel said, has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. Sacrifices here and there. Ooh, this just dropped in my spirit. And when I say sacrifice, having to sacrifice the flesh, having to sacrifice the things, it seems like a sacrifice in that moment. It really does, right? Because we like convenience. We really value our convenience as people. Our phones, or easy bake ovens, you know what I'm saying, McDonald's, everything points to we like things fast. That's why it's hard to sit still. I know about that. But like it feels like a sacrifice. But obedience is greater than the sacrifice, because once you do decide to sacrifice these things in the name of the Lord, you realize that He has so much more in store for you. Ears have not heard and eyes have not seen what my God is going to do in my life. I don't even know. I don't know. You don't know. You don't know. So it feels like a sacrifice, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So I think I'm done here. I think that's it. Again, I'm Amanda Mercier, and I was originally born in the island of Hispaniola, Haiti, and I came to the United States as a young child. I was about 9 years old when I came to the U.S. That was a whole nother experience, and we'll get into those conversations in my journey. I will share with you all, because there's a lot of information in my journey to share with you all in due time. And I look forward to doing that, so that we can teach each other and learn from each other. So